Alright guys, so now that we have been over what a 1, 2, 3, 4 looks like, some of the rubric, let's look at our STAAR writing packet. You should have gotten one of these, and this is going to be your STAAR writing Bible. So make sure you put your name on this. It should be hole punched, and we will keep it under our EOC tab in our binder. It should contain a page that says helpful hints, an example hierarchy, essay brainstorming strategy, essay outline, and an essay grading rubric that we will be using for the remainder of the year when it pertains to this essay. And then we're going to look at them closer here in just a few seconds, so hang tight. Alright, so the first page of your STAAR writing packet is helpful hints. And this is just something to kind of glance back to right before your test and kind of just eyeball every now and then about how to eat breakfast the night before, look over your notes, some revising and editing practice with the comma, the colon, and the semicolon, and then an essay writing guideline that's very shortened and condensed. You won't really look at this until later on when you are kind of right before the test, when you get there and you're like, okay, I need some reminders. That's what this page is about. This page is what we call the example hierarchy. Your examples are so important in your essay. They guide your essay, they add substance, they add detail, they add support if used correctly, and it matters which ones you use. If you start from the top, our strong examples come from literary, meaning books, short stories, poems, anything that is written of literary quality. Those are our strong ones. And then our next strong one is historical. We're looking at people and events in history that have made some kind of impact that can help support your essay. Then you're looking at acceptable examples, current events, things that are modern in the news, what's going on in our world that we can talk about, that we can bring in and tie into our prompts. Then you're looking at some media, meaning movies, TV shows, the music industry, celebrities, anything that you can use to help validate and support that prompt and your thesis. Then we're looking at some weaker examples that we try to stay away from because it could, help or hurt your essay, so we kind of break you of those. Personal examples, experiences that support the prompt from your life, meaning that anything that you can pull that we can just contain to this paragraph so the whole paper doesn't turn into a narrative. We try to stay away from those if possible, but if it's all you have that you cannot think of a single thing else to put in your paper, then we come back to this one. The next one is your weak example, like we do not use these. And basically it's what we call a hypothetical example. It's a situation that is made up or created to fit the prompt. And anytime that you're using if, you're using a hypothetical. If a student walks into the room and sits down and someone shoves their book to the ground, then that's considered bullying. That is a hypothetical situation. It's a situation that you make up, but it can be real. We do not use those in our essays, okay? One, because we don't use you. So we try to stay away from that. And so let's try to stay away from the hypothetical. We want to stay to the upper part of this example hierarchy. So let's make sure we stay that way. This is a brainstorming strategy that some of our kids use, and you may utilize. In the middle of the circle, you would put your prompt, so that way that is your main focus. And out on these little legs, or what we call like windmill fans, you would put your reasons or your answers to your prompts, your examples that you're going to use to support it, and why. We all utilize different brainstorming techniques. So it doesn't really matter which one you use. We just want to throw this one out there because it's been very helpful for some of our students. And so we want to make sure that you have every strategy in your toolbox as possible. You may use it, you may not, and I will show you how to do that in class if you want to utilize this one. This is the most important paper in your whole writing packet. We live, breathe, and die by this thing. It is a short and condensed version of your expository essay that kind of gets you up off the ground and running. And once you learn kind of the formula or kind of the strategies to get you through this, then you can start branching out and getting really unique and creative and original in your essays. But for the time being, when we start this helps you kind of understand the components that guide this essay. So, of course, your essay is in 4 paragraphs. Introduction, body number 1, body number 2, and conclusion. And I want you to keep in mind that if you saw the previous essays, you realize that those are short essays. Well, you're right, because they're only on 26 lines. Did you hear me? 26 lines to write this essay. So you don't have a whole lot of space to write it. And I teach you to learn how to write smaller, so that way we can get as much information as we possibly can in. But yes, you have a 4-paragraph essay, and they are short, sweet, and straight to the point. In your introduction, you have your hook. It can be a general statement. It can be a quote. It can be a rhetorical question. It can be an anecdote, which tells a little story. You can use that extended metaphor once you get your feet wet. You can go crazy with your hook. Whatever it does is it gets that reader into your paper. Then you have what we call a cushion. We have to have that cushion between your hook and your thesis, okay? That cushion is kind of a broad statement that starts introducing your prompt. Let's start narrowing it down. Then we have your thesis, where we reword the prompt with our 2 points in it, with our 2 reasons, with our 2 answers to our prompt. And this is the most important sentence out of your whole entire paper. Without your thesis, we do not have this main idea, this main subject of what our entire paper is about. So please, we'll be working on some thesis later. So remember, your thesis is the last sentence of your introduction. Then we go into your body paragraph. Body 1 and 2 are identical. You have a topic sentence that introduces one or the other of the points. We transition word into our example, whether that is historical, whether it is media, whether it is literary, whether it is personal. Okay? Then we have our explanation of our example. How do we support this with our prompt or our thesis, and what are we trying to say about it? Then we conclude our paragraph with a concluding sentence that starts with a transition word, and that includes our whole point of this paragraph. What is the point that we're trying to make? Let's end it up and move on. And that's body 1 and body 2. Then we get to our conclusion. We go into our transition word that signals that, and we will not be using in conclusion. We're grown up. We're gonna learn some new transition words. Then we're going to restate our thesis, and we're not doing that word for word, but we are going to restate it, get our point in. And then we're going to pull in our examples again. What do they have in common? Obviously, I used them all in one essay, so they have something in common. So let's tie them together. And then we end with the answering of the so what question. Okay? What is our purpose with this, and what is the point that we are trying to make? Guys, learn this. Memorize this outline. Get this to memory, so that way these essays can start flowing one after the other and knocking them out, and we're not leaving anything out. Alright, well here we have our expository essay grading sheet, and in this it covers everything that you should have had in your essay. We have the checkmark system, which shows that it was fantastic, it was good, maybe it was weak, or something is missing, or it's just plain wrong. And so we take this, and it's basically your outline, extended version, and we circle things like, does your hook, what was your hook? Was it a rhetorical question, a quote, general statement, an anecdote? Did you have a cushion sentence? Does your thesis statement have 2 points in it? Does it answer? And then overall, what was your introduction like? Did you try to use that extended metaphor? Maybe some literary devices. Does your body paragraphs have your topic sentence? What type of example? Did you have your transition? Did you include your support? Did your concluding sentence have your transition? And did it tie it to the prompt? Did your concluding sentence have your transition? Did you restate your thesis? Did you combine your examples together? And did you have an effective closing that ties everything together and answer your so what question? Was your structure in one long essay? Maybe 2 paragraphs. 3, possibly, if you made it work. 4, absolutely. Did you indent your paragraphs? Did you follow the expository structure, or did you just write whatever you wanted to write? What was your grammar and mechanics like? Were they to a minimum, or do we need some vast improvement? Did you stay primarily in third-person point of view? We didn't go into first with using I, me, my, or us. We didn't use second person with the you. We stayed primarily with the he, she, they, one, individual, person, people ideas. Did we try to use some higher level vocabulary? We pulled out that thesaurus and utilized it. And did we not use any repetition? We don't want to say the same thing over and over again. That becomes redundant, and we don't want to do that. So this will be stapled to your essay every time we grade them, so that way you can understand what you're missing and what we might need to work on. Your score is down there, which is equivalent to the grade that you will get in the grade book. So, of course, we want to make sure that we are striving for those higher scores to match that grade that's going in that grade book. But again, as we're starting out, we'll progress you up to those levels. As another tool for your toolbox, here is a list of transitional words and phrases that help you show relationships within and between sentences and words and paragraphs. So we're looking at, definitely you might want to highlight and label your, to signal an example. We like, for example, to illustrate, for instance, to be specific. Any of those in this area would be wonderful. We're looking at to summarize or repeat. In summary, to sum up, to repeat, briefly, in short, finally. As a result, a good one. Let's draw a line through in conclusion. We don't want to use that. And then there are several other ones like to signal additional ideas, to show results, as a result, therefore, to show contrast. Maybe not so much in this one, but you may use it with some flow in your paper, or to intensify. We want to bring in some very important details within your paragraphs. You may be interested in using some of these. So these are some really good transition words that you will need to keep definitely in your toolbox as a guide, and you will put this under your EOC tab as well. Alright, so let's look at a recap. I know I gave you a lot of information, guys, and we will go through it one step at a time. I just kind of wanted to show you kind of the bigger picture. So I hope you're not feeling too overwhelmed, because I'm not throwing it all at you at once. So let's recap. Expository writing is writing to explain. Okay? You get 26 lines on your essay, and we will practice. You are scored on a score of 0 to 8 by 2 graders, and it is weighted twice. Examples. They are so very, very important, and they need to make sure that they support your prompt. So read those books, watch those movies, pay attention to your current events. Guys, examples control your paper. If you don't have anything there, then you're not going to have any support. So what's coming up next? Okay, next will be a video of me annotating a breakdown of several different types of essays. I say different types, different styles of writing the expository essays, to show you how you can write different ways and different types of introductions, different ways you can write your body paragraphs, different ways you can write your conclusion, and really get a feel for that. And we will practice those. We will mimic those with different prompts. So kind of be ready, because we're going to put our writing caps on, and we're going to enter writing workshop for the next couple of weeks to help us get used to this writing style. So, here we go, whether you're ready or not.